All right. So is it noon? We've got just about everybody there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So a little bit of background on why we're reviewing this topic and why we kind of expanded the audience a little bit. We had a management review meeting for ISO back in, gosh, I don't remember what month it was. I want to say it was October, maybe end of September. But one of the issues that arose was when we were reviewing incidents, we noticed that there were a few where employees didn't report immediately. And in one of those cases, it actually led to an OSHA recordable, and it was actually ECC's only OSHA recordable. So we started thinking about, why are people not reporting and what are some of the issues? And we thought it'd be a good idea to kind of review some of the issues that come up, why employees don't report, and try to give you some tips and some ideas to make employees feel comfortable reporting. Because like I think most of us know, if we don't know about a problem, we can't fix it. But we sometimes inadvertently discourage people from telling us about problems because of the way we may react or the way we treat the information. So we're going to go into that. Again, this is going to be high level. So if there's anything, if y'all have questions, please reach out. Happy to help, as you know. Anything that you need, let us know. Okay, so we want to be able to develop an understanding of why employees are reluctant to report incidents. And we want to implement simple methods to encourage reporting because there are really simple things that you can do that will make employees feel more comfortable. Okay, so why does reporting matter? I think we all understand the injury aspect, like we talked about earlier. Um, it's also quality, production, all those things. It's not just safety. So a lot of what I'm going to talk about doesn't apply only to safety. It applies to everything that we do anywhere in the company. This is kind of geared toward the field because that's where we have our most exposure, but it does apply to other areas as well. We want to ensure dangerous conditions are stabilized and mitigated. We want to prevent recurrence or more serious incidents. We want to identify potentially dangerous underlying trends. And we want to identify best practices, implement those best practices, lessons learned, or modifications to tasks for processes, all that kind of stuff. So I think we all kind of understand why it's important to report things. Again, key is to encourage people. Was somebody going to say something? I thought I heard someone. No? Okay. Okay, some reasons employees don't report. Maybe it's a blame culture and there's fear of reprisal, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Um, there's a concern that incident reports will be used or interpreted in a negative way in performance assessments. Um, maybe there's a feeling that event reporting is only utilized to obtain statistics and nothing ever really happens. And I've experienced that with some other companies I've worked in. So and I know we all have clients that want to see, or have experienced clients, they want to see near miss numbers. They don't really get the information generated, but they want to see the numbers. So in first aids too. Um, maybe we provide insufficient feedback, like someone will report something and they never hear about any corrective actions. They're not engaged, they don't know what's going on, and there's no visible change that occurs for them or anyone they work with. So they kind of get the attitude like, well, why should I talk about it? Nothing's going to happen. Maybe they're not sure what they should report, and I know that's a case that occurs frequently. We get questions constantly about, do I need to report these? Does it need to go to EchoNet? All those kinds of things. Maybe reporting is too difficult, and EchoNet's a challenge. So I will say that we can work with that. But if we can get the people to talk to us, then we can help through that process. And maybe you're in a situation where management just doesn't stress the importance, or they just don't seem to care. And that stops people from reporting this. Any questions so far? Nope. Okay, so what's a blame culture? I mentioned blame culture. A blame culture is exactly what it sounds like. It's the employees blamed for everything that goes wrong. If they come to you and tell you that they had a problem with something, or they twisted an ankle, or they got a cut, or something broke, right away, we assume it's because they made a mistake, or they did something wrong, or they didn't follow a process. Rather than looking at the system itself, trying to figure out what went wrong. We need to remember that to fight the blame culture, we need to show empathy with the employees. There are not, I'm not going to say it never happens, because I have experienced situations where employees do set things up, but it's rare. I mean, it's truly rare. Employees don't come to work to try to get hurt. They come to work to do their job, to take care of their families, to do whatever, but they don't come to work to try to get hurt or cause an accident. Um, we want to strive for an atmosphere of trust where our employees will come to us, where they're not afraid to talk to us, and they'll share information, and they'll tell you about things that they do wrong. We need to encourage that. And we need to make sure that we accept that information without reprimand. Okay, so I talked about the blame game, and this is the opposite of that. It's a just culture, or open relationships, or whatever you want to call it. But essentially, it means that you've got a system of, a culture that employees trust you. They trust their leadership. They trust everyone that they work with. They'll come to you with anything. They'll talk to you about anything. Sometimes they give you too much information, but you want to make sure that you're doing your best to try to establish this type of relationship with employees. You need to encourage them, even reward them. Some sites will do that, and it's a great thing when people talk about issues and it turns into a situation that led to a corrective action. Let's give the guys a gift card or something. Let's do things like that. It's okay, and we can support that. We want employees to provide essential safety-related information. Like I said, individuals aren't blamed. Now, I'm not saying that we need to confuse this. I don't want to confuse this with mistakes, or I don't want to confuse mistakes with willful violations and gross negligence. Employees understand in a just culture that, okay, we accept mistakes, but if you deliberately don't follow a procedure, or you knew better and we know you should have done better and you deliberately refused, then that's a different situation, and they understand that. But mistakes are going to happen. We're humans, and mistakes happen, and we accept that. When employees trust, they'll provide honest, open information, and without that honest, open information, we can't truly identify causes and actions that we can take. All the little details, all the things employees are embarrassed to talk about, we need to know, because if they're not transparent, we can't get to the root of the issue so that we can establish true corrective actions for the problem. It'll just come back if we don't know all the issues. Does that make sense to everybody? So how do we encourage reporting? What do we do? Okay, the first issue where incident reports are negative, may be used and are negatively impacting performance reviews. I know in the past, when I first got into safety years ago, it was funny how so many people that were hurt or injured or did something wrong were told they had to be the safety guy for the week. So they were kind of being punished for what they did. Or it was this, kind of taken as a punishment. It's kind of funny now. But we want to remember that it's not always the person's fault. And like I said earlier, it's generally not the person's fault that something went wrong. You can't assume a system's going to function properly otherwise. And it's only because this guy made a mistake that something went wrong. That's not what happens. We need to understand that there is variability in human performance. It's inevitable. It happens. We all know we're not robots, and we can all think of situations ourselves where we've been involved in something that we just messed up. We knew we should have done something better. Maybe you get that gut instinct that, oh, I should do this, but no, I'll just do it this way, and something happens. And sometimes these errors are more often related to underlying design or system issues. So maybe you decided to grab the other screwdriver thinking it would work just as well as the other tool you should have used, because you just didn't know better and you didn't know the consequences. Maybe it has to do with, training. Maybe you weren't trained properly. Maybe we didn't have budget to train you. Maybe whatever site you were working on didn't have the time, the funding, whatever. Or maybe an experienced person to train you. So there are different reasons this happens. Maybe there was production or schedule pressure. This is a big one. There's a lot of times employees that you may not realize it, but employees feel the pressure to get something done. So they take it upon themselves to make do with what they have because they just need to get done. And they mean well, and they don't understand that there will be a negative consequence. Maybe they've done it before and nothing's happened. So they have a false sense of security that it's okay to do. And this one time something was different and something did happen and they ended up getting hurt. Kind of like shortcuts, same thing, same as what I just talked about. They've done it before, no negative consequences, so they continue to do it. And then unfortunately, there is a negative consequence. Maybe lack of upper management support. Maybe management just doesn't stress the need to make sure that we're following procedure. We don't want people to get hurt. We don't want quality issues, that all of this stuff plays hand in hand. And in order to have a successful project, we need to make sure that we're doing everything the right way. Okay, the statistics issue that I talked about. Maybe we only want reporting because we just want to generate numbers that create nice graphs to show in meetings. But we never really get into any of the issues that those statistics are generating. And that happens. It happens. It used to happen a lot. I think it's better now. And I'm not saying with ECC, but in my experience with different clients, government agencies, private sector, all of them, that they want to see numbers. They want to see you reporting near misses. They want to see your first aids, because if we report all these, we're not going to have any other incident. And they focus on making sure there are enough numbers rather than the issues that are being reported. So we need to be careful with that. We also need to make sure that reporting the event will result in a positive change. So when we are looking at issues, when an employee reports something, to say to them, okay, we'll take care of it, and then go on your merry way, doesn't really help solve the issue. We need to make sure that the employees are engaged in whatever that investigation goes on, and that they actually help develop the corrective actions. When employees are engaged and they see that they're part of the team, they're more likely to continue to follow the rules and do the right thing. Forget the rules, just doing the right thing anyway. It's really, really important. And they're going to trust you, and they're going to see that you really care, and they're going to continue to want to do the right thing for you. We want to make sure that corrective actions address the direct as well as underlying causes. Like I talked about, maybe it was the wrong screwdriver that led to somebody trying to jimmy something open when they should have gotten a different tool to open something, and hand slipped. We all know the scenario, leads to some kind of laceration, injury. And if they had really known that, okay, we really need to use this tool because this will happen if we don't, the training issue. Have we done the training? Have we gone through the process with them? Even simple things like the daily JSA. Have we gone over the task in the morning with the employee? So it all goes back to different causes. Maybe the employee was late getting into work, missed the tailgate meeting, missed the training session that addressed the task that he was going to perform, and didn't know that there was another contractor working in the area, so he didn't bother to barricade something below. I mean, all these things. It's like, are we communicating? So all those things contribute to underlying causes that could be the reason that an incident occurred. So we need to really dive into these issues and see what happened. It's not always straightforward and easy to identify. We want to make sure that we share information and actions implemented. And this is an area where I'm really bad And I think that we all need to do a good job on project sites as well as corporate wide, that when we take corrective actions, when we identify situations and take action, that we share it. I mean, I know that we have posts on EchoNet, but I don't believe that everyone has simple access to EchoNet, especially field operations, where they can see some of these messages that are flashed every day. So we really need to work hard to make sure that we share this information. And one of the things that I'm going to do is, as I get incidents reported, as we identify corrective actions, I'm going to start sharing those, as they come in every couple of weeks, so that hopefully we can prevent something from happening somewhere else. We want to follow up with the employees that were involved to ensure the action is adequate. So maybe initially we thought we addressed something. We need to make sure that we go back to the employee where the problem occurred and say, hey, how's it working? Are you still having issues, or is it fixed? And I have to say, our IT group within ECC, they're one of the groups here that does an amazing job doing that. We need to all kind of learn from them and do that. They always follow up to make sure things are doing, at least with me anyway. I don't know if anyone else has experienced it, but they always follow up to say, hey, is it working? Is everything good? We all need to do that, no matter what the task, not just safety or quality, but we need to do that. It's important, and it shows that, we truly care, and employees will be more likely to talk to us about issues. Clear reporting expectations. Okay, so I have to say that when I first got to ECC, I thought things were very confusing and I really wasn't sure what to report. We have recently updated the SOP for reporting, and it's moved now. It's not under ESQ, it's actually under the corporate procedures. Once it's all finalized, we're going to send out some sort of training mechanism. It'll probably be a simple review this SOP so that you know what to do. Secondly, make sure that on your project sites, you understand client reporting requirements, because those may be different than what we require. So establish those, check your APPs, go through all this stuff at the beginning of the project during orientation to make sure people understand. And I will say one good thing is that we don't have enough accidents that our people are truly, truly understand these. It's good to not know because you haven't had incidents. So that's a good thing. But we want to do our best to educate everybody so that if something does happen, they know what to do. We want to review requirements with employees and subcontractors, and have to make sure, especially subcontractors, that they understand expectations. What's got to be reported? Who do they report to? Why it's necessary? Everything I talked about here in the beginning about the situation where we had the employee that had a simple splinter, took care of it by themselves, didn't say anything to anyone, and ended up the next day with a swollen finger and went to the doctor, but didn't say anything. So we didn't have the opportunity to even help manage it. So it became a recordable. So we need to prevent those types of things. So make sure employees understand that it doesn't matter how small it is. Let us know. And I'm not saying that we're going to put every little scratch or splinter into EchoNet, but what we do need to know is that it happened, and if something changes or it does evolve into something else, that we can address it for the employee. And if they don't tell us about it initially, then they're not going to tell us about it if they have issues, or when they finally do have an issue, it's become so severe that it's not manageable anymore, and it's not good for the employee. It's not good for us. We need to make sure we know these things. And again, it's open lines of communication and transparency, and that's what we want. Employees also need to understand that there's no job that you do that should cause an injury. So if you're experiencing, like I talked about, I was thinking about electricians working in boxes. Sometimes the insides of those boxes have sharp edges. Maybe there are, things protruding that we can move or change, but trying to access something to do your job and having things that are causing you small injuries, not normal. So we need to look at those things. Maybe there's a different way to access, maybe there's a better glove. Maybe there's some way to protect edges, but if no one talks to us and tells us, then we can't help them resolve some of these issues so that people aren't getting injured every day. Again, follow up with everything. The daily tailgate meetings are so important. This is the time to share all this information, what happened. This is a time that everybody is face to face, that you can ask people, how'd your day go yesterday? Did you have any issues? Were there any safety concerns? Anything that didn't go as you needed? Did you have all your tools? All those things. Perfect time to talk. Additionally, routine site walks is perfect to build relationships. You're one-on-one, face-to-face. You can talk to employees more. Some employees aren't comfortable talking in front of groups, so they're not going to talk in a tailgate. But a one-on-one conversation is probably more realistic for them. And if you see them in the field, you talk to them and say, hey, how's it going? Do you have all your tools? Simple questions can lead to a lot of information. Plus, you're building trust and you're building transparency so that if someone feels like they have an issue, they're going to be comfortable coming to you to talk to you. Does this make sense to everybody? I know I talk fast. I've been trying to slow down. Okay, keep the reporting process simple and positive. Again, I don't know how many people attended the LED session a couple of weeks ago, but we had a speaker in that talked about communication. And it was a good presentation and talked a bit about, receiving information, body language, all that kind of stuff. So one of the most important things is to stop what you're doing. If someone comes in to talk to you, stop what you're doing and practice active listening. You need to be present and you need to be engaged and listen to what the employee is saying. Avoid blaming, judging, all those things, your biased opinions. You have to stop and listen and really look at it from an unbiased point of view, because it's so easy, and I think we all do it. When someone comes to us and says, I just cut my hand. Oh my God, what were you doing? Right away, that little bit of, oh my God, what were you doing? Assumes, kind of puts it on the employee like, it's your fault and you don't want to do that. Something like, okay, are you okay? Tell me what happened, is far more empathetic, and it allows the employee to feel a little bit more comfortable. And maybe they will actually be better at telling you what they did, and maybe they will be a little more transparent. And doing it that way over time will build the trust and the transparency that we need. Be conscious of nonverbal communication, tone of voice, eye contact, facial expression, sitting back in your chair, folding your arms, or kicking your feet up on your desk. All those things say, I don't want to hear this, I don't want to know about this, or why, you did this, all those things. It's all really, really bad. Think about yourself in the same situation and how you would feel and how you would feel more comfortable. So those are all really, really important. I can't stress that enough. And again, it's human nature. People don't want to hear bad news. It's hard, it's difficult, but like I said, you're not going to get good information from the employee where you can actually help them if they're not transparent. And if you're not unbiased and empathetic, then you're not going to get the information you need. Another thing you can do, make sure report forms are readily available. So when someone comes to you and they have an issue, it's easy to go find. We try to keep these things, I think, on most sites, like in vehicles or posted or something like that. And if you're not doing that, try to do that. Secondly, just take notes. If you don't have reports, take notes and write things down and try to, listen to the employee and then go back and start asking questions and take notes. If you need help or you need assistance or you want a second person to come in and help, do that. Get someone to come in and help you. Lastly, statements are incredibly important. Employees, that you want to get information from employees as it's fresh in their mind. And it's best if you can get them to write down statements for you, to tell you, this is what happened, okay, verbally tell it, and then say to them, okay, why don't you write down what happened? If you wait, Employees, think about it yourself. You start to create situations and you start to question whether or not it happened this way or that way. If you write down just the facts as you know them, when it happened, the information is much better than a couple of days later. You also want to get the information from the individuals and make sure that they're not in a group setting. Because again, in group settings, you may have employees that are afraid to talk. And if they have to talk in front of other people, they're going to be discouraged. So again, think about those things, and try to do your best to accommodate those things. And lastly, when you are asking employees to write down or tell you what happened, be sensitive to writing abilities. Some employees can't write or they can't write well, and we need to be sensitive. So knowing your employees, having the relationships, um, knowing that they're going to come to you will help you understand what their abilities are so that you can assist them better. Insufficient promotion by management of the importance of reporting. So maybe there's a situation where you've worked before where management just doesn't want to care. Well, we need to eliminate that. We need to care. And there are a lot of ways that you could get employees to understand that you care. Aside from the relationships and trying to build the relationships, make sure you're sharing the information that we talked about and make sure it comes from management. We want to encourage the reporting. So as managers or leaders on site, whatever it is, I mean, I think all of us on this call are essentially leaders on our project sites. So we need to make sure that when we talk to people that we encourage them to speak up and to talk about issues. Implement a safety committee. Some of the larger sites, it's a little easier to do. The smaller sites, not so much, but you can still sit down with people weekly, monthly, or something like that and talk to them, see what's going on. So, do that. If you can implement committees, great. Invest in training for staff. And all of these things I'm going to say right now, I forgot to mention earlier, ECC, I think, does an amazing job. I know personally, anytime I've asked for any kind of resources or training, I've never heard no. So if one of your employees needs some sort of training to make them better at their job or to make sure they understand, how to safely perform their job, we can do that for them. We can get them training. There are ways to get things done. So remember that. Opinion surveys. I think ECC does a lot of opinion surveys and routinely from all groups. So I think we do a good job, but do those on your sites. If you're not sure, ask, do it, ask around, do something, echo slips are a great way. Give everybody an echo slip one morning and say, hey, tell me, give them a specific item that you want to know about. How can we improve supporting you? Or are there tools you need for your job that you don't know you need? Something like that. And do the little surveys and see what they turn in for you. Incorporate performance into routine performance meetings. So if you're having weekly production meetings with your subcontractors, client, all that stuff, make sure you're including safety as part of that. Talk about issues, what happened. And I realize that you have to be careful sometimes in client meetings, but internal meetings, we should always incorporate safety to make sure that people understand that they can talk about issues. And if there are issues they're having, that's the perfect forum to get people's different ideas to address issues. And lastly, be visible in the field. Make a point of talking to employees. This is probably the one most important factor, I believe, in promoting a positive safety culture. Anyone that's in the field, if you're out walking around talking to people, they build a relationship with you. They get to know you, create conversations, and they'll start to talk to you more. And when they have issues, they're not going to be afraid to talk about it. It's incredibly important. Like I said, we're all leaders and we need to know. So we really need to make a point of doing this. And sometimes we're focused, we're out on a mission to do what we need to do. We forget to do this. So take time, make a point of doing it. The face-to-face communication is imperative to establishing a positive safety culture. Okay, questions and answers. Anybody have anything? Everybody's quiet. Can y'all still hear me?
Yep, sure can.
Yes.
Thank you. I was worried. So if no one has any questions, I know I made it under the hour, but if there's anything you need or any resources you need or anything, going forward, reach out to me, to Pete, to coworkers, anybody, we're here to help each other. So, let's communicate and let's all do better at sharing information. Like I said, I'm going to commit to do that. So the more stuff I get from everybody out there, the more I can share. So, let me know how I can help. Okay.
That was really good, Kim. Just a reminder, there'll be a quiz on the LMS page. Natalie sent out the link, a Teams link to that quiz. So in order to get credit, you need to take the quiz.
Right. And it's a simple quiz, so you shouldn't have a hard time, but it's easier. So please go take your quiz. It's only 6 questions. So, all right, everybody. Well, thank you very much. And again, if there's anything y'all need, don't hesitate to get in touch with me. I appreciate everything everybody does.
All right. Thank you, Kim.
Thanks, Kim.
Yep.
Thanks, Kim.
Of course.
Thanks, Kim.